you. Good morning, good morning to you. Good morning, good morning. Won't you share with a friend or two? Good morning. Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. You. Good morning. Good morning to you. And many more. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Daring Dialogues. I am your host today, Shantae Charles, and it is Get Free Friday. I hope that you are doing something today to foster that get freeness inside of yourself, that you are releasing your cares, releasing your worries. I did a broadcast earlier this week about how my heart had been bruised, and it was dealing with what I see happening in education with children, and specifically with what we call benign neglect, i.e., sort of letting children just fall to the wayside, not really encouraging them to do their best, and sort of just letting them fail. I saw a little bit of that this week, and it made my heart was a little bruised by it. And so I shared that. I think I shared it on Black Table Talk and also on my TikTok. And lo and behold, on Thursday, I had a really, really good day. And I had a parent provide a rating for my company, and they wrote a really nice statement about their child and how their child has not been able to, nobody's really, as a teacher, has been able to hold their child's attention except for me. Now, of course, we want that to improve, but that was very good news for me that somebody was able to reach this child, be able to hold their attention because they just recently got diagnosed. And so that was very helpful for me to see a parent saying, hey, you have been able to help my child. You've been able to capture and keep their attention long enough for them to actually learn. And my child enjoys learning, because regardless of whether I'm working with an adult or whether I'm working with a young child, I want people to come away from their encounters loving learning. Like, I don't want people, even if the subject matter is difficult, which a lot of times it is for adults, I don't want people to come away from that experience saying, man, I feel down, or I feel depressed, or I feel dejected, or I feel like, the instructor is giving me a hard time and it's not really for me. I don't know about you, but I've been in spaces where I've had to be taught by people who didn't really care about me as a person. I've had to be taught by people who, good morning. I've had to be taught by people who didn't care whether I passed or failed. And so sometimes the attitude of an instructor coming in can affect people's overall participation. It can affect people's overall hope and desire to do well. So that was good for me to hear on Thursday. I got that message, and I was very, very inspired and uplifted. And I said, well, I appreciate my creator and the universe for giving me some good news to say, you're going in the right direction. Keep on going, keep on moving. See, I went through that a lot in school, which caused me not to like school. Exactly. And so I always, as an educator, as an instructor, like I said, even when I'm working with adults, it's always a joy for me when adults say, hey, I thought this was going to be hard. And it is hard, but you're at least making the process enjoyable. You're making the process fun. You are keeping my spirits up as I work through this thing. And I can tell you, out of all of the teachers I've worked with, I've had almost close to 70 teachers that I've worked with in terms of helping them to pass different tests. And almost all of them have come away from the experience saying, not only did I pass the test, but you helped me to restore my confidence in learning. You helped me to restore my confidence that I could do this and that I could actually excel in my profession. So when I hear those things, that tells me and that gives me the green light that yes, what you're doing, you need to keep doing it. And I think everybody can have those lulls in your life where you feel like, is what I'm doing really making a difference? Like, is me getting on here every day, Monday through Friday, for 1 hour a day, is that really making the difference that I feel like it should make? So when I get stories, when people say, "Hey, you got me back reading again," or "Hey, you've got me interested in an audiobook," or "I've been increasing my personal library because of the books that you've been reading aloud," or "You sparked my interest in history. I didn't really have a huge interest in learning about historical things, but now you've got me digging." All of those things for me is what this is all about. This is about the why. I do want to say too, good morning. I do want to say too, I am considering in the month of June doing some 1 week courses where it will just be 1 hour a day for like 5 days. And because I'm seeing a couple of areas, right, that people seem to be struggling with. One of them is citizenship. I do a lot around social studies outside of this platform, but I'm really thinking about diving into some citizenship basics, like understanding the Constitution. What are the amendments? What are the amendments about? What do they say? What is legal? What is allowable? What's permissible? I'm thinking about doing a class on that because right now, I just put up a post where yesterday another executive order went out, establishing another sort of faith-based office. And the people writing the article did not do a good job explaining to the American people how what just happened was a violation of the Constitution. There's something in the Constitution, in the First Amendment, it's called the Establishment Clause. That clause tells you plainly you're not supposed to be establishing a religion in favor over other groups. But that's what our president just did on yesterday through his executive order. And so this paper, right, they're reporting on it as if this is normal behavior. They're not putting anything in the article that says, well, even though the president wrote this executive order per the First Amendment and the Establishment Clause, it says X, Y, and Z. It's not even mentioned in there. So when people read that, and that's again why we talk a little bit here about media literacy, when people read that, they're just going to read it as, okay, the president did this. There's no context in that article saying that here's what he did and here's what the First Amendment says. At least give the people that, because what he did doesn't match the First Amendment. This is unconstitutional. He probably shouldn't be doing that. His advisors probably shouldn't be egging him on to do that, or whoever wrote his executive order that he is putting his signature to. All right. So stuff like that. I'm thinking about doing the citizenship class. I'm thinking about doing a art class for beginners, people who want to just learn some of the basics of drawing and technique. Thinking about doing that for a week. Again, it would be 1 hour a day for a week. I'm also thinking about, what was the other one? Oh, math refreshing. I know there are some adults who are out here struggling with some math concepts, and they're like, I just need a refresher course on some basic math concepts. Can you help me? We're talking life skills math, not, algebra, algebra 2, that kind of stuff, but just life skills math. I'm thinking about doing a 1 week crash course on some life skill math. And then also drop everything and read. I'm thinking about doing a short, again, Black History camp where we'll take an hour a day. You'll have an opportunity. We'll sort of read a passage and then we'll discuss it and then we will quiz you on it. So those are the things that I'm thinking about for June. If you are interested in any of that, because I'm going to have an adult version and I'm also going to have a child version. So if you have a child that is my cutoff would be second grade through sixth grade. If you have a child within the second grade through sixth grade range and you're interested in that, please email me at thedaringdialogues@gmail.com and just type in 1 week courses and then tell me which ones you might be interested in. Again, I'm going to do adult sessions, so it will be an adult version. And then I'm going to do young children sessions. So even with the citizenship class, I'm going to do a young children's version of that. Because as they are snatching up children now, not just parents, our children need to know their rights too. All right. So I wanted to make sure I put all of that out there today. I'm going to dive into the devotional. We're only going to touch on one book today. Would the teenagers do the adult version? Yes, they would. They would be doing the adult version. And when you say teenager, I'm thinking probably 15 and older. All right. I'm really not going to catch that middle grade level, but I do want to make sure that I hit 15 and up and second through sixth graders. All right. And I might come back in the fall and do it again. I just would need to see how June goes. So I am putting this out there today. By probably mid-May, I'm going to finalize what courses I'm doing. I just want to see who all is interested. And then things that I don't get to for June, I definitely will come back to them in August. All right. July is my sabbatical month. I take that month off to celebrate myself, my life, my marriage, get some rest, all of that good stuff. Go visit family, check on my elders. That's what I do for the month of July. May 2nd, Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice devotional. And the devotional is, I have a dream. There's nothing mysterious about success. It's the ability to stay mentally locked in. Success is creating a state of mind that allows you to obtain the desires of your heart. Success resembles human survival. Both depend on a future vision, seeing ourselves in specific situations as healthy, thriving, and full of positive expectations. As a college student in Houston, Texas, Dr. Barbara King, pastor of Hillside Truth Center, overcame a life-threatening bout with tuberculosis. When she was cleared to resume her studies after spending 4 years in a sanitarium, Dr. King discovered that her classmates had either graduated or dropped out while she was convalescing. Now faced with doctor bills as well as tuition, she worked hard as a maid on campus to get through school. After finally completing her coursework, she was asked how she managed to endure. What powers did she possess that others lacked? How did she manage to stay focused? She gave a clue in a speech before a group of college hopefuls. She said, I never thought of quitting. I kept my eye on the prize. I had faith. There's enough faith in the world to accomplish anything, but you must claim this faith for yourself. Claim it. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't be what you want to be. Claim it and be it. Believe in yourself. Believe that you have something to give to the universe. Focusing your energies in a single direction can work wonders. If you want something badly enough, long enough, and consistently enough, don't be surprised if you get it. Now, I always say, be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. And I've also, in these 47 years of life now, I think I have realized that. I think I've lived long enough to see that principle worked out. That if you are consistent, if you are persistent, And if you stay focused, you will begin to see whatever you're focusing on come into your present. Um, my focus, because I said I need a singular focus for my personal life. And my singular focus is being a mental abolitionist. So what does that comprise? That comprises everything that I'm doing is supposed to open up people's minds in a way that causes them to be free. Now, that's the singular purpose. I know that every day I get up, my singular purpose is to say something, to do something, to be something that causes people to say, huh, I didn't think of it that way. Or I've got the answer now. I can go and do what I need to do. So that's my singular purpose. But now I have what's called modalities of how I get that done. Sometimes that's prayer. Sometimes that's through artwork. Sometimes that's through singing. Sometimes that's through making music. Sometimes that's through teaching, right? Sometimes that's through writing. All of those are the modalities through which my purpose operates. And I think sometimes people confuse the two. So I'm not a writer per se. I'm a mental abolitionist who uses writing. Think of it that way. Who uses reading, who uses speaking, who uses teaching. So I want you to think about that today. What is your singular purpose? If you could encapsulate today, if you could think about what am I here to do? Could you put it into one word or could you put it into two words? For me, it's two words. Mental abolitionist. Okay. Oh, you said you're a false prophet scammer? That's three words. If you're a false prophet scammer, well, you probably shouldn't be over here. All right. So think about what are you here to do? And can you sum it up, right? Can you sum it up into two words? Can you sum it up into one word, right? And good morning to those of you who are coming in. Think about that today. Can I sum up what I'm here to do in one or two words? Can you do it? That's your challenge for the weekend. If you've never thought about it, what you're here to do, and you have never thought about summing it up, ask yourself, can you do it? All right, we are back in this book. We're going to read for the next 10 minutes. It's called Live Nourished, Make Peace with Food, Banish Body Shame, and Reclaim Joy. The chapter is called Why Diets Don't Work. And she says, the question is, why do we even put ourselves through this in the first place? One of the most common reasons people embark on a weight loss journey is to better their health. I put health in quotations because in reality, health is subjective and very much tailored to the individual. At least that is what dieters believe they are doing. But it is what they've been told by society or even instructed by a health professional. As someone working in healthcare myself, I know that professionals are just as susceptible to believing that weight loss equals health. Dietitians get their degrees in diet culture, including the class Fat Phobia 101. We go to school and learn that seemingly every disease is correlated to a higher weight and also that everyone has full control over their health. This is what we're taught. This makes many in the field quickly prescribe weight loss as the answer to all problems. But the key word here is correlation, and that's not the same as causation. There is no disease or illness that only presents in larger sized bodies. Now, I want If you're dealing with issues around weight, if you're dealing with issues around body image, dysmorphia, how you see yourself in relation to how you actually are, you probably want to write that down somewhere. There is no disease or illness that only presents in larger bodies, because so many times people look at someone whose body size is larger and thinks, oh, that person must be ill, that person must be unhealthy. Okay. So, what are people in thinner bodies prescribed for the same illnesses? It's certainly not weight loss. In a 2013 review, researchers reviewed the health outcomes of long-term studies and whether weight loss diets led to improved cholesterol, triglycerides, systolic and diastolic blood pressure, and fasting blood glucose. Overall, there were only slight improvements in most of the health outcomes studied. Changes in cholesterol, triglyceride levels, blood pressure, and blood glucose were small, and none of the changes correlated with weight change because there were health behavior changes, such as in eating patterns, medication use, and exercise. Yes, really. Your body on a diet. We already know that diets more often than not cause the dieter to gain back weight, but that's not the only downside. Simply put, the human body doesn't know the difference between a diet and starvation. This is another key point that people probably want to write down. The human body doesn't know the difference between a diet and a starvation. This is also what we try to tell people when it comes to child discipline. The human body doesn't know the difference between spanking, whooping, beating. It registers it all as a hit. So for the people who say, well, I don't beat my child, only spank them, only tap them, the body is still registering it as a hit. Okay, back to my conversation. So when you start cutting calories, the body goes into survival mode, entering our hunger hormones. The hunger hormone, leptin, which normally controls levels of satiety or fullness, decreases. At the same time, levels of the hunger hormone, ghrelin, increase. Sounds like gremlin, though. Ghrelin is produced in our gut and travels through the bloodstream to the brain, where it signals our brain that, hey, we're hungry, please feed us. Ghrelin levels typically rise before a meal, when your stomach is empty, and decrease shortly after when your stomach is full. These hormones' main function, therefore, is to increase appetite. So when we are restricting our intake, our body thinks that we're starving. And in true bad body fashion, it tries to help by making us feel hungrier. And no, willpower cannot suppress this psychological response. Our bodies are literally fighting to keep us alive and take care of us. They sense danger, and they're doing everything in their power to protect us from succumbing to a famine state. Kind of cool when you think about it. Your body is naturally designed to protect you from starvation. And so if you are choosing to go without food, the body is reading that as starvation. Let's send these signals to tell this person to eat more. Just in case any of you are wondering why you can't seem to get certain pounds off, okay? So our bodies are actively working against any sort of diet. The most notorious study of our bodies on diets was the Minnesota starvation experiment. This clinical study was performed at the University of Minnesota between November 1944 and December 20th, 1945. The experiment's primary goal was to examine the physical and psychological effects of prolonged semi-starvation on healthy men, as well as the dietary refeeding rehabilitation from this condition. The men were to lose 25% of their normal body weight. Each participant spent the first 3 months of the study eating a normal diet of 3,200 calories a day. followed by 6 months of semi-starvation at 1570 to 1800 calories a day. Then a restricted rehabilitation refeeding period of 3 months, eating 2,000 to 3,200 calories a day. And finally, an 8-week unrestricted rehabilitation period during which there were no limits on their calorie intake. The men were also required to work 15 hours per week, walk 22 miles per week, and participate in educational activities for 25 hours a week. It is notable that this normal 3,200 calorie diet would nowadays be considered overeating, and the semi-starvation diet of 1570 calories would be considered normal. Well, as you might expect, there were noticeable changes among the men during the semi-starvation phase. On the physical end, in addition to their emaciated appearances, there were significant decreases in their strength and stamina, body temperature, heart rate, and sex drive. Psychologically, hunger made the men obsessed with food. They would dream and fantasize about food, read and talk about food, and savor the 2 meals a day they were given. During this period, the men also reported fatigue, irritability, depression, and lethargy. Interestingly, the men also reported decreases in cognitive ability, although mental testing proved otherwise. It's worth mentioning that during the study, out of the 36 total participants, 3 men were excluded because they broke their diet, and a fourth was excluded for not meeting the expected weight loss goals. Yep, diets are universally unsustainable. Any of this sound familiar? Because I'm pretty sure that anyone who has ever dieted has experienced some of these effects. Many people say they are getting healthier by losing weight and going on a diet, but you have to wonder, is the constant worrying about what you eat and if it's good for you healthy? Because it seems to be the exact opposite of health. You decide to embark on said diet, which is already putting pressure on yourself. You are given an exhausting list of do's and don'ts that you have to follow in order to succeed. And it really doesn't matter the exact diet you're following, because if it has a set of rules, it is determined and by definition a diet. This can be extremely stressful, especially when we are made to believe that success is the make it or break it criterion for our health. To compound this even more, what effect does stress have on the body? The ongoing stress of dieting can cause a fight or flight response in your body, causing your epinephrine or your adrenaline and cortisol to be released and making us feel more irritable and more anxious. Cortisol is a hormone that, under normal circumstances, is released when we're waking up in the morning, exercising, and during small, stressful situations like a hard exam, running late to work, etc. These situations are usually temporary. Once the threat has passed, your hormone levels should return to normal. Another reason that our bodies are really cool, they assist us without even realizing it. Our parasympathetic nervous system, which is a really fancy way of saying the automatic system, as in the system that functions automatically, is a network of nerves that relaxes our body after periods of stress or danger and is responsible for the bodily functions that we don't ever think about, such as heart rate, blood pressure, digestion, urination, sweating, among other functions. This automatic system turns off and is suppressed when we are in a constant state of stress. Now, this is something that I teach my students, especially my students who deal with high levels of anxiety. I teach them to put these 2 fingers together like so and hold them while they're breathing. And when you do this, it sends a signal to your parasympathetic nerve and it tells your body to relax. Now, I've tried this with hyperactive students. I've tried this with students who have gotten into it, or they've gotten into some kind of conflict and their adrenaline is high and you're trying to calm them down. You're trying to help them to regulate themselves. They can do this to regulate, self-regulate, and they can do breathing, and it will as she said, it's your automatic system. It literally tells your body to calm down. You don't need medication for this. Just put those two fingers together and breathe, and it will send the signal to your body to calm down. Just as our body has a parasympathetic nervous system, it also has a sympathetic nervous system, which puts our body on high alert. Long-term activation of the stress response system and the overexposure to cortisol can negatively impact almost all the body's processes, causing increased risk of many health problems, included but not limited to anxiety, depression, digestive problems, headaches, insomnia, muscle tension and pain, heart disease, heart attack, high blood pressure, and stroke. Notice that this is a lot of bad leading to worse, which is really not good. The next time that we dive into this book, we'll be looking at yo-yo dieting and the pipeline of eating disorders. All right. So I hope you learned something today about your body and about the diet world that maybe you didn't know before, especially the part about not sending your body into starvation mode, because it's going to tell your body that you're starving it, and it's going to send signals to make you hungrier than you already are. Drink more water. Breathe this weekend. If you feel yourself in a moment or having a moment of anxiety, put these two fingers together and breathe. They'll send a message to your parasympathetic nervous system, and it will tell your body to relax. Now, I think the wild thing about this is so many people have demonized this by saying it's a white supremacist symbol that people don't even realize that you're being stopped from increasing your health in your body. Now, nobody's telling you to go do white supremacist symbols, okay? But putting these two fingers together, they don't have to form a white supremacist symbol to do that. Putting these two fingers together and breathing is what makes your body calm itself down. All right? Okay. I am going to bring Pastor Ben on. Pastor Ben, we've got about 10 minutes here, 10, 12 minutes. All right, I think I'm back. Okay. All right, so I have sent the link to you, and hopefully you will see the link and be able to come on. While we are waiting for our talk back opportunity here, next Friday we'll also be picking up reading back in Moving Beyond Broke, The Power of Perseverance in Personal Finance by Dasha Kennedy. These are the two books that we are reading from on Fridays. So if you're interested in either one, Get Free Friday is all about improving our health and improving our financial literacy and wealth knowledge. So these are the two books that we are reading from. Dasha Kennedy has a Facebook page called The Broke Black Girl, I believe. Yes, The Broke Black Girl, where she gives out financial advice online. Very practical stuff. So check her out. I think she's on Instagram, Threads, and also I follow her on Facebook. And then the author of Live Nourish is Shauna Spence, and her Facebook page is The Nutrition Tea. All right. And you can follow her also on Facebook. She is giving out daily information. You're not seeing it. Did you check your spam? I'm going to try. Okay. There he is. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Can you see and hear us? I can see you. Can you hear me? Okay, good.
See you. Now
Okay.
I see you.
It seems like it has a little bit of lag time. So we've got about 10 minutes
Okay.
here.
Okay. Dieting. Hmm. Now, I want to tell you what I've learned from experience because I had to lose weight when I was in high school on the wrestling team.
Hmm.
It wasn't dieting, it was more like working out. And this is what we had to do. We had to watch what time we ate.
Hmm.
Because let's say like you go to sleep at 10 o'clock and you're done with dinner at 9:30, 9:45, your body's not going to that food properly.
Hmm.
So it was more about what time we ate and what
Hmm.
we ate. Because if I go home the day before a match and I'm like a quarter pound overweight,
Hmm.
I can lose that quarter pound in my sleep. But I have to be careful with what I eat and what time I eat it.
Okay.
So it's I've never been one for like just starving myself. That's never been me. And I've always had a high metabolism. But I've never
Mhm.
been one for starving myself to get in shape or to lose weight or anything. Never.
Now you
I
know
have a
what's
sister.
you know what I thought about too though with the starvation period? I thought about the culture of fasting within religious
Hmm.
space.
Hmm.
Because fasting is encouraged, um, people have to be careful how they go onto a fast and how
Hmm.
they come off of a fast. And I
Hmm.
feel like a lot of times not enough education is built in around that. Like our pastor did, because he was a in the medical profession, he would actually do a training first on properly going onto a fast and properly coming off of a fast so that you would not send your
Hmm.
body into these shocks that she's talking about.
Hmm.
But I don't think everybody gets that kind of education. And so sometimes if you have a habit of doing fasts on a regular basis, sometimes people fast 2 or 3 times a week. You really have to pay attention to what you're putting in your body, like you said, the time of day that
Hmm.
you're putting, that you are eating, because it will sort of start causing this fluctuation of weight, or even sometimes an increase of weight. And so there are a lot of people, especially in the faith realm, that have packed on weight, and they're trying to figure out why are they packing on this weight and they're fasting.
Why are you
And it
messing with
really
Christians?
is and it really is the science around, like we're talking about, it is the science around how you fast.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
let's not forget that services go late at night, right?
Hmm.
And again, your body is saying, I'm starving,
Hmm.
because you're not eating. And your
Hmm.
body is saying, is making you hungrier than you are. And so now you're overeating, but you're doing it at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at
Hmm.
night, 1 o'clock
Hmm.
in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. Let's be real. Let's be honest about church culture. And then you're packing on wait because you're not having time enough time to digest what you're eating, and you're going home and you're doing it all over again. And so if we think about our processes, then that means you are asking religious spaces, especially Black religious spaces, you're
Mm-hmm.
asking them to adjust. You're asking them to change the way they do things. And I know my husband and I used to have a running joke quite a bit when we were in one denomination because they would never offer anything healthy. We would be like, and they would sort of make jokes like, "Oh, there go those Charleses. They asking for a salad, that kind of stuff. They asking for fruit. You're not getting no salad. You're not getting no fruit. You get some fried chicken. You may be getting some
Mm-hmm.
collard greens or some green beans. You might get another starch on there and the Hawaiian roll, and you going about your business. Don't ask us for no salad. Now, I would say most faith-based spaces have gotten better about the choices of things they offer people because of the move to vegan diets. But for many years, that used to be like an anathema. How dare you ask for a salad at a church, at a
Mm.
church dinner after church? Ain't no salad here. What are you
Mm-hmm.
talking about? You know? And so it was that culture that also too played a little bit into like our eating habits, plays into our wellness. And so don't be afraid to make some changes around that, especially if you are a person that is in faith-based spaces and you're over the health and wellness of the people. You are a part of the hospitality committee. You should be advocating for healthier choices for the believers that you're serving. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I have a sister that had put on weight, and it wasn't because of her eating; it was because of gland. She had a gland problem.
Hmm.
So now she could have done all the starving she wanted to do. It was not going to go away because it was a gland problem.
Hmm.
Was she healthy? She was healthy, but because of the malfunctions of her glands,
Hmm.
her body started putting on weight. So no, it's not always about a person's health. It's not about their what type of physical shape they're in.
Hmm.
Sometimes it's just the body. Sometimes people are just going to be big, but they may be healthier than the smaller person.
And I know I've seen that personally in my experience. Also, if you're looking at with women and hormones,
Hmm.
perimenopause can bring on weight. It can bring on weight in certain sections of your body. And of course, there are some things, and we may get into that on another Friday. There are some things that women can do to help with that. But a lot of times people are like, I was doing fine. A lot of women are like, I was doing fine until I hit about 35, 40. And then I started taking on more weight or what they call subcutaneous fat, or fat around the waist, fat around the middle. And so you can't beat yourself up if you don't have a beach body by June 1st, people. We see all of these advertisements, right? Have a beach body by this time, and you got to work on it, you got to grind. Yes, but I also need to understand how my body works. And like she said,
Hmm.
there is no true one size fits all when it comes to your health. Health is very individual. We recommend that you go see a nutritionist. If you have health insurance, most health insurance plans have some sort of option in there where you can see a nutritionist. Start there. Get your blood work done. What is your blood work saying? What are your mineral levels saying? Because a lot of us look healthy, but we might be vitamin D deficient. We might be B12
Hmm.
deficient. Um, Most people looking at me wouldn't have known, a couple years ago that I had a serious um iron deficiency. I was looking back the other day on some of my pictures, and I almost had like a light, I was lighter but it was almost like a gray, ashy color to my skin tone. And it was because I was iron deficient. And so
Mm-hmm.
having spent years now regulating that and finally getting to a place where I'm no longer iron deficient, I don't have to say, "Oh my gosh, I look pale in the summer." Like I have color to my skin now. And so it's really important to not just be doing guesswork as you get older about your health, right? Because sometimes we can feel good, but then there's things going on inside of us that are not so good that just have not started to reflect on the outside of us.
Mm-hmm.
So get your blood work done. Have your mineral levels checked. Have your iron level checked. Make sure your kidneys are working and in good working condition. Those things can be done. Those are like your baseline tests that can be done, and then work with a nutritionist. Think about what needs to change in my diet. And when I say diet, I'm not talking about dieting, I'm talking about what you eat. What needs to change about what I'm eating? Okay? What needs to change about what I'm eating? What time of the day do I need to stop eating? And if there are days when I go past that, what are some allowable foods that I could eat later that's not going to throw my whole eating plan off? It's not going to throw my whole body off, right? So we have to make the choice to do that.
Out of service at 10 o'clock, and then you head straight to Denny's or IHOP. And
Guilty. I
what
was guilty
it,
of that.
and what are you getting? Fried chicken.
Well, I wasn't guilty of that, but yeah, I was eating late.
But
I was eating
listen,
late.
many of them would be getting fried chicken. Myself, I would either do the breakfast or I would do something with fish.
Hmm.
See, because fish it digests quickly. It doesn't really add anything to you as far as fatty stuff, substances and stuff like that. So I would do something like that. But and many people now there was this also running joke, right? Baptist preachers are bald head and big bellies.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, not just black Christian preachers basically, because when I know a lot of them though, they either bald head, short hair, and they got big belly.
Mm,
I know many of them because that's what they do. They're going to leave church on Sunday. They're going to go to a restaurant, eat a bunch of chicken, a bunch of fried chicken, and that's what they do. After every service, they're going out to eat.
mhm.
So it's not good for you. I mean, if you're going to go out and eat, be careful about what you eat.
And here's the thing too. Whenever we would do that, whenever we would go out to eat, all of us, well, the group of people that I was with, all of us would go to the local park that was nearby that had a waterway and a walkway, and we
Hmm.
would do a couple of laps. Call them back, and we would do a couple of laps after we ate. So we would get active and moving for about 30 minutes after we ate. And I think that too for us made a difference in
Hmm.
terms of how much we were retaining. So even
Yeah.
if you are going to do something like, go eat after service or something like that, try to get a walk in after you eat. Try to just do, again, you don't have to get on a treadmill, you're not running a marathon, but just a simple walk,
Hmm.
for maybe 10 to 15 minutes. Find a space where you can go. If you're in an urban space, obviously, you might want to find a park that you do this at, but just take a walk. If you're going home, take a walk around your block if it's safe to do so. Again, if it's safe to do so, take a walk. If you have exercise equipment at home, you got a treadmill. Get out of your church clothes, put you some joggers on, get on your treadmill, time yourself for about 10 to 15 minutes, and get that walk in so that your body is doing something with the energy, with the food that you're
Hmm.
intaking, so that it's having a place to go. It's being channeled into something. So
And
yeah, that's
and
one thing that was helpful for us. Final
and that
thoughts.
and that actually helps to activate your metabolism,
Hmm.
which burns it off. But final thoughts. There's nothing wrong with being healthy. I know in the Christian based community, well, God will do it, God will take care of it. He gave us a responsibility.
Hmm.
Aren't there many scriptures about the temple?
Hmm. Yes,
Yeah, that's dealing with the body. He wants you to take care of that.
absolutely. Uh-oh, I think you're breaking up a little bit. You're back. You're back.
No, that's not how that works. He's given us a responsibility to take care of that temple. So let's do that. Let's take care of that temple. I remember when I had an iron deficiency because I used to donate blood, and one day there was an incident while I was donating blood, and even though it didn't show in the pre-test, but afterwards, they did it again, and it showed. So I understood that wheat actually can boost your iron. So I started eating wheat,
Okay,
and that kind of balanced it out.
interesting.
So yeah, wheat has iron. So yeah, there's a lot of vegetables and stuff that also has iron, but
Hmm.
I love myself some frosted shredded wheat. So you know, as a snack. I would just eat it as a snack. So there are many natural things that we can do. As a matter of fact, basically all natural things are good for your health. It's the manufactured stuff,
It's how it's processed. Hmm.
right? The processed stuff. Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, let's get back to our roots, and I don't mean roots as in roots. I mean our roots, where we did natural stuff.
Hmm.
Where we did natural stuff. We actually did the
Raw,
herbs and raw and stuff like this. We actually did the stuff that God planted in the ground before He made man from that same ground.
raw
Think on
natural
that.
materials.
Yeah.
Raw natural materials. All
Hmm.
right. Thank you so much for sharing your insight and thank you for joining me again in conversation. I want to thank those of you who tuned in today. This has been another episode of Daring Dialogues, and I've been your host today, and Shantae Charles and Pastor Ben along with me today, having the talk back. Remember, light is the most daring opposition to darkness, so continue to go out and be light. Drink some water this weekend. For those of you who are not big water drinkers, um, drink some water. I prefer alkaline water. That's what I drink. My husband likes to drink smart water. I drink some smart water, but mainly just basic alkaline water. Um, but drink some
Listen,
water.
I can make a joke out of
Hmm.
that.
Drink some water. And as the song says,
Smart
drink water
water.
and
Okay.
mind our business. Well, what is our business? Our business is taking care of our bodies, not just our souls, not just our spirit, but we encourage you to take care of your body. And remember that if you're not eating, your body is reading that as starvation mode and it's sending the signal that you're hungrier than you really are. Okay. So think about what you're putting into your body, what time that you're eating. Pay attention to that. Look up the information on what time is a good time to cut off eating before you go to sleep. There's research on that. Look it up and begin to make those small adjustments and see and watch your health improve. I am not a doctor. This is not medical advice. This is encouragement to do better about your health and seek a medical professional. so that they can tailor a plan specific for you. Light is the most daring opposition to darkness, so continue to go out and be what?
Light.
Light. Take care, everyone. Be well. And most importantly, be light.